It's time for dinner.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
From the creative mind of Scott Bertelson, after 4 decades of teaching our impressionable youth,
The dinner bell.
you are invited to enjoy conversational morsels for the mind at Mr. B's dinner party.
Yeah, dinner.
Hello, hello. The podcast is alive with the sound of Mr. Bertelson. Oh, isn't that awful? Well, anyway, yes, I am here. I am alive. Well, the last time I checked, the doctors questioned it. But anyway, it's time for Mr. B's dinner party, and I sure hope that you have a huge appetite for everything we're going to talk about today. Now, lately I've been talking to people and interviewing people, which I love, but this time it's back to, you know it, Mr. Bertelson solo. And I've got a number of things I want to bring to the dinner table. We're going to have a wonderful appetizers, and we're going to have a great salad and a main entree. And then, of course, let's not forget the dessert. Of course, mine will be sugar-free. Anyway, so with that being said, let's belly up to Mr. B's dinner table.
For the next course, come one, come all. Nothing spoiled here. From comfort classics to what's hot now. Film reviews from Mr. B's Rewatchables.
For my rewatchable film this week, I dive into the archives again. Oh, you know what? I think all the time of different movies that I could talk about. I have so many listed that I'm sure I'm going to have to be on this pod even after I'm dead to cover everything that I think that you should have in your DVD collection or watch on streaming or watch on a cable station or maybe even in the theater if they had a retro night. Yeah, I got to be honest with you folks. I don't find many of the current films, except for some of those that are nominated for Academy Awards, really that appealing. And so I don't know if that's age, which we'll be talking about later, or if it's something else, but I keep coming back to the era of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And sometimes I do dip into the 21st century, but I'm dipping way back. And I remember the first time I saw this film was in the drive-in, the Mesa City Drive-In Theater. Remember that place? Oh my goodness sakes, what a great place to sit in the back of a pickup in a lawn chair and eat burritos. Anyway, the movie is 1980's Airplane.
LA departure frequency 123.9er.
Roger. Huh? Request vector. Over. What?
Flight 209er clear for vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Yes, Airplane. And I hope I can get through this review because very much like Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, it is so uproariously funny that you can't even catch your breath to say, okay, I can go on, because it is so funny. And I've seen it so many times, and if I need something to take my mind off any stresses I have, or just to have complete silliness, and I do mean complete silliness, then this is a movie for you. It is an American disaster comedy film. You know, during the late 70s and early 80s, we had a plethora of disaster movies: Towering Inferno, Airport 75, Airport 77, Airport yada, 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 and lots of other films. And this is a parody of those. And I love parodies. I love satire. And they went all out on this one. This was written by Jim Abraham, who became quite famous later in writing and directing other comedies. If you've ever seen The Naked Gun, The Naked Gun and a Half, I think there was another Naked Gun movie too. But anyway, this was his directorial debut. And this film was a massive hit. And it did spawn a sequel a couple years later, Airplane 2, which I don't know if I've ever seen. I don't know. I find it somewhat sacrilegious to see any kind of sequel to this film, Airplane. It stars a great number of at that time well-known stars: Robert Hayes, Julie Haggerty, Leslie Nielsen, Robert Stack, Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves.
Joey, we have something here for our special visitors. Would you like to have it?
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. You ever been in a cockpit before?
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
And other people. Now, what makes it so funny is these people, particularly Lloyd Bridges and Robert Stack and Leslie Nielsen and Peter Graves, always played tough guys on television. You know, these mean, tough, I scratch my underarms and I smell like B.O. type guys. And here they go completely against character. And they play these hilarious people, but they don't even know that they're funny. That's the joy of this movie. They play it very deadpan, and it is just fall out of your seat funny. So as I said, it's a great parody of disaster films, and it's very fast-paced slapstick comedy, great visual verbal puns, lots of puns. And I'll be going through some of those later on, and they'll make you just want to throw up. Gags, running jokes, dark humor, all these different things. As I said before, it was a commercial success. It made $171 million, which at that time, 1980, that was a lot of money. It was ranked 6th on Bravo's 100 Funniest Movies of All Time. And in 2012, it was voted the #1 film of funniest comedies ever on film. So, yeah, wow. And in 2010, it was selected for presentation, or should I say preservation, in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. So it's something that's going to be revered and honored for a long, long time. Now, for the earth-shattering themes, no. For the earth-shattering special effects, no. For the satire, yes. Yes. Let me read to you the plot, and then you might get some idea of how silly this is. Okay, so ex-fighter pilot Ted Stryker is a traumatized war veteran turned taxi driver. Because of his pathological fear of flying and subsequent drinking problem.
It was at that moment that I first realized Elaine had doubts about our relationship. And that, as much as anything else, led to my drinking problem.
His drinking problem is he can never hit his mouth. Okay. He splashes beverages everywhere but into his mouth. Ted has been unable to hold a responsible job. His wartime girlfriend, Elaine Dickinson, now a flight attendant, of course, breaks off her relationship with him before boarding her rostered flight from Los Angeles to Chicago. Ted abandons his taxi and buys a ticket on the same flight to try to win her back. Well, of course. Once on board, however, Elaine continues to reject him, causing Ted to accidentally drink several other passengers to suicide as he sadly reminisces. He goes through this whole story of how they met, and they do a great parody of Saturday Night Fever. After the in-flight meal is served, the entire flight crew and several passengers fall ill.
What was it we had for dinner tonight?
Well, we had a choice, steak or fish.
Yes, I remember. I had lasagna.
Passengers Dr. Rumack discovers that the fish during the meal has caused food poisoning. With the flight crew incapacitated, Elaine contacts the Chicago Control Tower for help, as instructed by Tower Supervisor Steve McCruskey.
Chief, we got fog right down to the deck. Every place east of the Rockies. There's no possible place they can land. They'll have to come through to Chicago. Looks like I picked the wrong week for smoking.
To activate the plane's autopilot, which is a large inflatable dummy pilot dubbed Otto, which will get them to Chicago but not be able to land the plane. Elaine and Rumack convince Ted that he needs to take over the control.
This is due to periodic air pockets we encountered. There's no reason to become alarmed, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your flight. By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
When Steve learns Ted is piloting, he contacts Ted's former commanding officer, Rex Kramer, now serving as a commercial pilot, to help talk Ted during the landing procedure. Ted becomes uneasy when Kramer starts giving orders, and he briefly breaks down and has more wartime flashbacks, and the flashbacks are hilarious. Elaine and Rumack both bolster Ted's confidence, and he manages to once again take controls. Now, as the plane nears Chicago, the weather, of course, gets worse, complicating the landing. With Elaine's help as co-pilot and Rex's guidance from the tower, Ted is able to land the plane safely, despite the landing gear shearing off, and the passengers suffer only, of course, minor injuries. Rescue vehicles arrive to help unload the plane. Impressed by Ted's display of courage, Elaine embraces and kisses him, rekindling their relationship. The two watch as the autopilot, Otto, takes control of the plane, inflates a female companion, and takes off. Now, okay, maybe it's not an Academy Award-winning script. And you might be saying, what the... is going on there? It's the lines. It's the funny lines in the film. They just keep hitting you in the face, left and right throughout the whole film, that you just cannot want to laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. Paramount, who made the film, insisted that the film be shot in color and that it be set aboard a jetliner. They were thinking about setting it aboard a smaller plane, but this way it lended itself to a much bigger audience and a group of fools on the jet. Robert Stack, Peter Grace, Lloyd Bridges, like I said, had never done comedy before, and this was their first stab at it, and were brilliant. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 97% approval. Here's some more accolades. 2000 American Film Institute listed Airplane as number 10 of the 100 funniest American films of all time. The sequel, Airplane 2, came out in 1982. And I am going to now share with you some of the funny lines that keep coming back to me. And I know them. They're going to be said even before I watch it for the 10th, 20th time, and I still laugh. So, without further ado, with the advent of the computer, here are some of the quotes. And so, this one says, this site said it's the greatest disaster parody film of all time. I guess I don't know of too many disaster parody films, but this is probably the biggest. Okay, here's one. Don't call me Shirley. Rumack, one of the guys on the plane. Can you fly this plane and land it? Ted Stryker. That's a character played by Robert Hayes, the one who doesn't want to fly the plane because he's scared. Surely you can't be serious. Rumack, as played by Leslie Nielsen. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Come on, laugh with me. Come on, and don't call me Shirley. Oh, my God. Rumack, Leslie Nielsen again. I won't deceive you, Mr. Stryker. We're running out of time. Ted, surely there must be something you can do. Rumack, I'm doing everything I can. And stop calling me Shirley. So there it comes again. And I use that a lot with kids in school. I'd say, don't call me Shirley. And, of course, they had no idea what I was talking about. Okay, here's another one. Rumack, you better tell the captain we've got to land as soon as we can. This woman has to be gotten to a hospital. Elaine, the stewardess. A hospital? What is it? Rumack, it's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
You'd better tell the captain we've got to land as soon as we can. This woman has to be gotten to a hospital.
A hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
Elaine, the dim-witted stewardess. You got a letter from headquarters this morning. Ted, the man who she dumped and now she's still in love with. What is it? Elaine, it's a big building where generals meet. But that's not important. Oh, my gosh. Oh, all right. Here's a whole takeoff on the wrong week. Steve McCroskey, one of the guys who is getting the plane, helping to get the plane landed with Ted Stryker flying it. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. And finally, looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
I can't take much more of this. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
Oh, here's an interchange with Ted and a passenger. And there's so many cameos of so-called famous people who were on the plane who have a line or two. Passenger says, nervous? Ted Stryker says, yes. Passenger, first time? Ted Stryker, no. I've been nervous lots of times. Okay, maybe it's just my sense of humor, but I think it takes a brilliant mind to come up with this. Oh my gosh. Here's one. Ted Stryker. My orders came through. My squadron shipped out tomorrow. We're bombing the storage depot at Daiquiri at 1800 hours. We're coming in from the north below the radar. Elaine. When will you be back? Ted Stryker. I can't tell you that. It's classified. Elaine, the stewardess, on the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your stewardess speaking. We regret any inconvenience the sudden cabin movement might have caused. This is due to periodic air pockets we encountered. There's no reason to be alarmed, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your flight. Elaine, Ted, the altitude. We're falling, Ted. We're falling. The mountains, Ted. The mountains. Ted Stryker. What mountains? We're over Iowa. Elaine, the cornfields, Ted. The cornfields. Oh, air controller. Captain, maybe we ought to turn on the searchlights now. Rex Kramer. No, that's just what they'll be expecting us to do.
Captain, maybe we ought to turn on the searchlights now.
Oh. That's just what they'll be expecting us to do.
Rex Kramer. Stryker, listen, and you listen close. Flying the plane is no different than riding a bicycle. Just a lot harder to put baseball cards in the spokes. Oh, I mean, this is just a brief, and maybe you're grateful for that, sampling of some of the humor in this. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's pages here. Here's one. Ted Stryker. Mayday, Mayday. Steve McCroskey says, what the heck is that? Johnny, this very funny guy who's helping to maneuver the plane to the ground. Why, that's the Russian New Year. We can have a parade and serve hot hors d'oeuvres.
Johnny, what can you make out of this?
This? Well, I can make a cap, or a brooch, a pterodactyl.
Oh, Steve McCroskey. I need a best man on this. Someone who knows that plane inside and out and won't crack under pressure. Johnny, how about Mr. Rogers? Oh, my God. Oh, well, anyway, I could just go on and on and on, and you're probably saying, please don't go on and on and on with some of the funny lines from the film. But it is really, really, really funny. And I just don't think we get enough humor in our lives. That's why I really seem to be focusing on largely comedic films when I do my reviews. So I guess what I'm saying to you is you've heard about the plot, you heard some of the funny lines, you know that it's a parody, and I've just given you the tip of the satire iceberg of some of the lines in this film. One of the funniest bits, I think, in the entire film is where June Cleaver, the woman who played June Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver, can't think of her name, but anyway, she's much older and she's in the plane, and a couple black guys are on the plane, and they're speaking.
See a broad to get that booty yackle? Leg her down or smack 'em, yak 'em. Oh, got to be. You know?
Non-English, I guess I could say. And nobody seems to understand what they're saying, and so they're using subtitles. And she starts using the same type of talk that they do. Oh my gosh, it is just so uproariously funny. So again, if you have some of those references to some of those old sitcoms, that makes it funnier. So enough said. Go see Airplane. I can guarantee you that your stomach is going to be aching from laughing. And it is a brilliant exercise in parody and sarcasm. So Airport, the original Airport, is a very serious film, very good in its own right. But first, see Airplane. Please see Airplane.
Hello?
All right. It's the 70s, my era. I graduated in 1977. The 70s are very important because that was the origins of Saturday Night Live, which will be coming into its 50th season this fall. Yeah, 50 seasons. And I was there from the very start. And on a Saturday night, whereas now we don't have anything on television, we had the greatest lineup. We had at 8 o'clock, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. At 9 o'clock, we had the Carol Burnett Show. And at 8:30, we had the show I'm focusing on today, the Bob Newhart Show. Yes, the Bob Newhart Show. Now, Bob was a comedian, and he's still alive, I believe. And he played this role for quite some time. He played a Chicago psychologist. Yes, it aired from, 1970 to 1978. It had 142 half-hour episodes. Wow. My gosh. TV Guide ranked the series number 49 of the best sitcoms of all time. The Bob Newhart Show. Now, don't confuse this with the show Newhart, which came after that, was on in the 80s, where he and his wife ran an inn in, I think, Vermont. That's a whole different show. Now, funny? Absolutely. This is my brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl, which you can catch that show on cable too. But the Bob Newhart Show, again, you can buy the DVDs of all the seasons. You can probably find it on a streaming system, and you can probably find it on a basic cable station, especially one that focuses on old sitcoms from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And Bob Newhart Show, the thing that I wanted to mention to you is, if anybody's familiar with Bob Newhart, is that he has a really, really, really dry sense of humor. Very dry. And he can tell a joke like nobody else. And he has a straight face, no expression, and he would utter these great satirical lines on this show and would crack you up because he didn't laugh. He took it very seriously. And that really added to the humor. So you had Bob Newhart, who was a comedian, and then he's been an actor. And then I think he was in another TV series after Newhart too, but I can't recall the name of that. Bob Newhart was the star. His wife, a Chicago school teacher, was Suzanne Plachette.
I'm not comparing you and Amy. I mean, that's ridiculous. Amy was blonde, you're brunette. Amy was tall, you're not so tall. I mean, you're, compact. Well, not compact, but, you have a nice bulk.
And they lived in this beautiful apartment in a high-rise building. They had this Fruit Loop neighbor named Bill Daly, who just caused chaos for him all the time, invited himself over to eat all the time. He was an airplane pilot and really seemed like to have the intelligence of a dead squirrel. So I don't know why or how he could fly a plane, but anyway. Then there was Peter Bonaris, who was a child dentist in the building that Bob worked in downtown Chicago as a psychologist. And then Marshall Wallace was the secretary for this floor that Bob's office was on, and Peter had his dentist's office. And then one of the recurring actors who played one of Bob's recurring favorite patients would be Jack Riley. And he played this neurotic, pathetic man who he felt the world hated him and he hated himself. And he just brought a lot of humor to the show. It was nominated for 4 Primetime Emmys during its run. And most of the show, I should say the show dealt with 2 aspects. One dealt with his patients and his group therapy sessions, which are uproariously funny. I don't know if even group therapy is a concept anymore in modern day psychology, but at that time it was. And then just listening to Bob listen to his patients and getting the impression that he thought that they were really stupid. Now, I could be wrong on this, but again, it was that droll expression that he had, and that they had nothing really to complain about, and why am I doing this for a living, and is the money enough to keep me doing this? That's just the impression that I always got. And then the other part dealt with his home life with Emily, his wife, and things that went on there, and his sister, and then, of course, his neighbor, the character played by Bill Daly, and the craziness that went on there. And so every week had something different going on. And it just was a great sitcom. And it was produced by the Mary Tyler Moore production company, who also did, of course, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which is probably one of the classic shows of television of all time. And Bob would once in a while actually show some emotion. It rarely ever happened, but sometimes the world even got to him, or his patients got to him. And he would be usually the epitome of patience and fortitude and inner strength, but sometimes the lunacy of the world just got to be too much for Bob. And so you would see that in some of the episodes. So I hope sometime, if you're looking for a very funny show, very family oriented, you will think about the Bob Newhart Show, where Bob plays a Chicago psychologist. And if nothing else, I think you would get very addicted to his droll performance style of saying everything in a monotone, uproariously funny, and he lets the humor speak for itself. And he just has that look of an everyman. Like, he doesn't look like any kind of major star whatsoever, unlike his wife, Suzanne Plachette, who was absolutely gorgeous woman. So take the time to go to the office and make an appointment to see Dr. Bob sometime, and you will have the time of your life.
Let's lend our ears to the wacky observations of the world, according to Scott. Mr. B's wacky world.
My friends, I have been experiencing my 60s for 4 to 5 years now. Even though many people think I'm 35, 20, just graduated from high school, I guess I'm just proof that good living does pay off. You don't buy any of that, do you? Anyway, I was just visiting with my hairdresser today, and I said to her, well, I am 65. I don't have quite as much energy that I used to. And she said, I never would have guessed you to be 65. And I said, oh, 75? Yeah, I beat her to the punch, but no. I have noticed that even with my spiritual journeys and latching onto my spiritual life, that for some reason in the last few years, I've noticed a change in some of my beliefs, value system, and I don't know if that's due to just being the age I am or what, but I titled this section, What Happens to You When You Turn 65? And maybe it happens to some of you earlier. I don't know. Well, here's the first one, and I surely don't need any scientists to back me up on this because I know this is true. My attention span dwindles by the minute. I can't today, and I'm not proud about this, can't make it through a commercial. Well, I fast forward through the commercials. I don't watch anything in real time. But it doesn't seem like I do. Maybe that's because I don't have an attention span. But I find it hard to sit through movies anymore or full episodes of TV shows or sit down and read a book for so many pages. I can't keep myself focused. And I don't know if that is attention deficit disorder. I think I did always have that. It was never diagnosed. I was never tested. But it seems like it has become even more of a deficit for me. That I want to do something in short increments and then I'm done. And then I want to move on to something else. That doesn't mean I won't come back to it. But the thought of being focused on something for an hour or two or maybe more just doesn't appeal to me. And so I will watch TV shows in segments. If I'm watching a movie at home, I will do that. Of course, you have that luxury. Going to a movie theater, I usually can weather through, but I am very selective as to what I go to. I will say I probably do try to avoid movies that are 2.5, 3 hours, whether that's right or wrong, just because of the attention span. But I do think that is something that has happened in just the last few years with my increased age. And do I have a solution for this? Well, I suppose I could be tested to see if I have a attention disorder and take medication for it, but I don't feel it has to be regulated that way. So I can get through a podcast okay. So anyway, just wanted you to know all that. Another thing I've noticed with the advent of my AARP designation is that I have lost patience in retail stores. I've talked to you about Walmart and how I nearly have to be hospitalized or sedated before I go in. That doesn't mean I don't go in. I know that I could buy everything online and maybe pick it up at a spot or something, but I'm not going to pay for that. That's just me. So I have to come through those front doors if they open of these retail places, especially Walmart and some grocery stores, because nobody's buying my groceries. And I really, and this ties into my attention span too, is I want to get out as fast as I can. I need to get to where I need to go quick. Don't get in my way in the aisles. And again, I don't want to be rude or anything like that to people, and I really pride myself on not doing that. But I'm not there for the good times. Okay, I'm there to spend too much money on inflated items and wanting to get out. So when I get into a line, and I try to avoid, as I've said before, if you've been listening, this is a test. Have you been listening? To avoid the self-checkout. And a lot of that is disappearing anyway. Thank goodness. But anyway, back to what I was going on about. I get in line and the person can't find their checkbook, or they don't remember their PIN number, or they're questioning the cost on something, or they get the item up to the front and it doesn't have a price on it. And so then they have to call somebody in the back, which is like calling China, because nobody answers their phone. I don't know where all the employees of Walmart are at. I think they're in the back eating birthday cake that's day old and nobody picked up. So anyway, or day old donuts. And you stand there and you stand there. Now, there's a number of things you could do. You could pray to your higher power for patience, which I do, and try to have empathy for the person in front of you, even though it takes them 4 days to write out a check. You rarely see people write checks anymore, and everybody has a right to that. But could you do it a little bit faster? And then try not to make so much small talk, and I do mean small talk, with the cashier. Can we just move it ahead? Let's just get out of here. So I can find many times that my anxiety level is starting to erupt, and I can feel a geyser emotionally coming out of me, like Old Faithful, and no fault of the person ahead of me. I mean, really, it's ridiculous. And so I never used to be that way. I used to use that time standing in line to take a nap or to reflect on my life, and that's really what I should do, and count on my blessings and think about all the good things I have in my life, which is more than I can ever say. But I seem to switch into the rip, tear mode of, can you just move this along? And a part of me wants to start screaming at the person checking out, which in a maybe alter reality I would do, but not ever now. So anyway, I'm just telling you, if you see me in Walmart and I'm standing in line and I have this really vague, depressed, sad, maudlin look on my face, that's because I am sad and depressed, and I have a very sad feeling about standing in line. I'm not going to stand there and do the river dance, okay? So anyway, that's another thing I've noticed that just has come on with age. Another one is I have found that my chair at home, where I do my reading and watch television, has become very comfortable for me. And I'm finding that as age creeps up on me, as it does on everybody, that I can sit in that for rather lengthy amounts of time, which you might say, well, doesn't that go against everything about your attention span? I mean, you can sit in the chair for hours, but you have the attention span of a gnat. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Yes, that's what I'm telling you. I call my chair my little throne, my little area of peace and tranquility. It's where my get-up has gone and out the door, and what's left of me goes to the chair. So anyway, I don't have any kind of sores or anything from sitting in my chair for extended lengths of time. But I do have to really, really much more at this age motivate myself to get out of the chair and go walking and do this in the house and go there and do this and do this and do this. Because if I sit in my chair of comfort for a certain amount of time, then I'm just really okay for most of the day. And I don't want to be like that. I just don't. There's just too much going on around me and things to experience that I don't want to be like that. So there's another one. Okay, here's another one. Okay, I call this the name that ailment today. So you get up in the morning and your bursitis on your right side is flaring. Okay, so you have trouble walking. And you're thinking, oh, I'm dreaming of that cortisone shot that I can get in a month or two. I gotta wait every 3 months. Darn it, for that. And then you have that for the day, and so you go limping through your day, and people look at you like you need surgery, or what's wrong with you? Well, it's my bursitis. And then the next day it's all gone, and you don't have it for weeks. Well, evidently my bursitis has a mind of its own, and decides what it wants to do, when it wants to do it. When I was in Branson a couple weeks ago, my bursitis decided to carry on a little song and dance. And here I was at Silver Dollar City for the day, which is a lovely place. Really had fun there. And I was limping, so to speak. I thought, I am not going to become a slave to my bursitis. I am going to keep moving and keep going. And I did. And then the next morning, normally I can tell right away when I get up in the morning whether it's going to be causing me trouble for the day or it's going to give me a day of reprieve. I found it was giving me a day of reprieve, and it has been that way ever since. So that doesn't mean it can't flare up the next time I go walking. Who knows? And what causes that, I don't know. But sometimes you might have a pain in your right shoulder, and then the next day you don't. And then you might have a pain in your left eyeball, and then the next day you don't. What I'm saying is, as the body ages, no, I'm no medical doctor, the pains, the aggravations seem to rotate in the body. Sometimes they're in the feet, sometimes they're in the legs, sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I have terrible Charlie horses, and I have to get up and I've got to walk around, and then I have to be very careful lying down again, because if I don't lie in a certain position, the Charlie horses will kick right in again. And so it's just the perils, it's just my body type is not 2024. So I'm very, very grateful that my higher power has kept me as healthy and feeling as good as I do. I really am grateful. And so far, my doctor reports have been great, and I hope to live for a long time. But again, that's out of my hands. So just want to mention that, okay? So not that you don't have aches and pains when you're younger, but they do seem to creep up on you more. I think particularly in your 60s. I'll keep you posted about the 70s and 80s if I'm still doing this. Okay. Another one is I have this issue sometimes of waking up really early in the morning and I can't get back to sleep. Now, yes, do I go to bed early? Some people would say that I'm asleep by 9:30, 9:45, sometimes earlier. But still, getting up at 2:30 that doesn't seem really right. But my body just said, the alarm goes off in my head and I can hear taps. And woo, it's time to get up. And so then, of course, midway morning or very, very early afternoon, then I hit the wall. And I'm sure many of us have at times hit the wall. And then I have to sit down and take a brief nap, maybe like for 5 minutes, or I've got to keep moving and let it just disappear on its own, which it normally does. And then the next night I might sleep until 4 or 4:30. That's my normal time that my body wakes up. That doesn't really matter what time I go to bed the night before. And I think part of that comes from getting up early and being at school early for many, many years as a teacher. It was unusual for me to be at school by 6:15 in the morning, sometimes 6, sometimes 6:30 to get work done. And I'm a morning person. Now, some people might say, well, that's a little extreme. Maybe so. But do I feel rested if I go to bed like at 9:15 and get up at 4:30? Yes, I do. I do feel rested. So I'm just telling you that sometimes when I was a teenager, I could sleep all morning. And then now it's, for me, sleeping in is 6 o'clock. If I sleep until 6 o'clock, the world has ended. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about some of the things that happen to you when you're in your 60s, which has been a wonderful, wonderful time of my life, but the body is a used car. So, pre-owned. So, who owned me before? Anyway, so there you go. So, when that next ailment hits you, just remember, there's another one coming.
Let's have a seat round the proverbial table.
Would you like to say grace?
With a nod to our higher power and Mr. B's spiritual journey.
Folks, for my spiritual journey, I have been going through the 12 steps with you, and today I'm going to talk about step 11, and that is stated as, I sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Now, I want to make it very clear when I'm talking about this step today, that I'm not advocating any kind of religious practice. I'm not advocating that you go to church. If you go to church, that's your business. What kind of church you go to is your business. What your religious life is like is your business. But when I say that I am spiritual, I mean that I believe in a higher power. I call my higher power God. You can call your higher power whatever you want. So that's where I take the religion out of it. If you want your higher power to be, and I'm not trying to be sacrilegious here, a doorknob or a table or a piece of fruit. I mean, I know that may sound silly, but I mean it. You've got to have faith in something greater than you in order for you to be saved from your food addiction. We believe, as a person who has this disease, that we have to have a spiritual relationship with a power which is greater than ourselves. I was just visiting with a friend today, and he said, why can't you just have willpower? And I said, willpower is not enough. I don't have willpower. When it comes to eating, I have a disease. I am insane. I cannot control it. Other aspects of my life, yes, I have willpower. But I have to turn this over to a higher power who then directs me and keeps me abstinent, keeps me clean, keeps me pure of the food that I put in my body, which in result then will improve my lifestyle, my belief system, my attitude, my forgiveness. All these things improve when that is taken care of. So call your higher power whatever you want to. This step basically says that in order to recover from compulsive overeating, we need a living, developing, ongoing relationship with a higher power. It's not just once a week. It's not just, call your sponsor once a day and then you're done. No, it's talking to other people who have this disease. It's journaling. It's reading. It's listening to podcasts. You have to have freedom to let go of that old lifestyle that was holding you down and was making you miserable. You have to take action. We are challenged in this step to actively improve our relationship with our higher power in a way we might develop any relationship by taking the time on a regular basis to be with your HP, higher power. Most of us have found it necessary to set aside some time every day when we are alone and undisturbed. Now, you can do that right away in the morning. Some people get up extra early to do that. Some people do it in their car. Some people do it while they're exercising. I do it when I'm usually exercising in terms of walking. I do a lot of reflecting and connecting with my higher power. It can be when you're walking down the hall or driving in the car. It can be anywhere you want to do it. Step 11 encourages us to practice prayer. Okay, I never ever want to underestimate to you the importance of prayer. Now you might say, well, that's a church thing. No, I don't believe it is. I believe anybody can pray. You don't have to be affiliated with the church. If you want to be, that's fine. I want to make it very clear that I'm not anti-church. Not at all. Not at all. But a prayer is your direct line to your higher power, where you talk to your higher power. And if you want to ask, fine. If you just want to talk, fine. I can tell you, I really do firmly believe that your higher power hears you always. And your higher power is going to listen to whatever you're asking, if you're asking for something, or if you're just telling your higher power how you feel. And if you want to feel a different way, give this to your higher power, and I believe that you will be helped. You can also meditate. Now, I'm not much on meditation. Is that because I have no attention span? I don't know. Is there a connection? I don't know. But many people do meditate. They play certain music. They listen to it. Other people don't have music on. It just all depends. But it's a great way to clear your mind and think of something different that you want to do. Here's a great slogan for anybody with Step 11. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Every day, stick to your food plan, reach out, be of service to people, read, journal, listen to a podcast. Keep it simple. Now, what do we do when we talk to God? Well, we can say whatever we feel like saying. You can recite a prayer that you've read in a program, heard in a meeting, or remember from childhood. Lots of different things. You can just talk to God in your own words, like you would talk with your best friend. I think my higher power is my best friend because he's with me always. He created me. He made me an individual. He made me unique. And I make no apologies for that. We need to have now complete freedom to express our honest feelings in any situation without fear of saying the wrong thing and damaging or destroying our relationship with God. We've got to be honest. We've got to tell the truth. It guides us to ask only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. So how is God going to direct our lives to keep ourselves abstinent, to keep ourselves clean of this poisonous food? Well, that is something that happens on a day-to-day basis by you practicing the steps. One practice that I recommend to you is writing down your angry feelings or concerns in a letter to God. I call them a Dear God letter, and I clarify issues. I express my feelings if I'm angry, if I feel frustrated, if I feel left out, whatever it is. I write it down. And then you can give it to your sponsor. You can put it in a can that you can label your God can. And when you do that, that means you've given the problem over to God and you can let go of it. God is going to take care of it. However God feels or your HP feels it needs to be taken care of. You can make a burnt offering of it, hang it on a tree branch, put it in the river, whatever you want to do. But the main thing is that you have to stop worrying. Take action and turn problems over to your higher power. That's really the key. Step 11 implies that through our practice of prayer and meditation, we will come to know God's will for us. Here the question arises then, how exactly are we to know which thoughts are God's directions and which are our own? A communication from God might be difficult for us to recognize at first because it probably won't come in audible words. Instead, it may come in the form of a new idea or a concept, or it might come as a change in our motives or our attitudes, or it might simply be a feeling we have that our energy has been renewed and that our bad mood has lifted. We can recognize a communication from a higher power by the effect it has on us. So, if you're feeling better, you can probably thank your higher power for that if you have gone to your higher power for help. Always share with your sponsor or OA friends, if that's what you want to, or just any person, the desire to take action to improve your life. This step really utilizes using prayer and meditation as a regular part of life. Of course, along with friends, meetings, literature, all of this, you can keep practicing step 11. And then you will never have to turn to food for the solace that you thought you had in the past, which you never did. Through prayer and meditation, we need to align ourselves with a higher spiritual power. This gives us everything we need to live life to our fullest potential. We don't need to plan everything out. Our higher power is taking care of us. We have 24 hours in front of us. Let go and let God. Live today for today. Enjoy today for today. At the end of the day, do an inventory. Is there anybody that you've harmed? Can you make amends to them? Would it make it worse to make amends to them? If that's the case, then don't follow through with it. If you feel that you need to take care of something you said to somebody that maybe they didn't understand and you didn't mean to upset them, then you need to take care of that. But also capitalize on all the good things you did at the end of the day. Were you of service to people? Did you listen to people? Did you give the time of day to people? And did you love yourself for who you are? So step 11, my dear friends. Sought through prayer and meditation improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Crucially important with the steps. Remember, your God is how you understand Him, not how I tell you to see your higher power. That's your call. And folks, there's another invigorating, is that the right adjective? Episode of Mr. B's Dinner Party. I hope that you will belly up to the table again soon. Enjoy some more delectable delicacies of wisdom, I hope. Joy, comedy, maybe some insights. And I hope that as you leave today, you have serenity in your life and happiness, and know that you are a child of God and you are unique, and you should celebrate that every single day. So until we talk again, my friends, God bless.
Mr. B's Dinner Party is hosted by Scott Bertelson, edited and produced by Troy Thompson, recorded and distributed at Sunnyside Farm Studios. Music is provided by Soundstripe and platformed by Buzzsprout. Like our page on Facebook, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share with your friends. Listen and enjoy every other Wednesday, conversational morsels for the mind on Mr. B's Dinner Party.